Hey everyone, welcome back to the Path to Purpose podcast. My name is Kieran Williams, and today I'm going to be talking to you about synchronicities and what they are. I'm also going to be talking about how you can spot them and what they signify. So for those of you that don't know what a synchronicity is, it's typically something you see or notice more than once over a short period of time. For example, how we often see patterns of numbers. One of the most common ones I see myself is 1111, so 4 ones. And lately, I've also been seeing 1616 and also 2222. So these are just a few examples of what synchronicities are in terms of numbers. And many people have different numbers that they see, and they can come in any form, in any place. For example, you could pick up your phone, and as you click the phone screen, it could come up saying the time is 11:11 in the morning or in the evening. And this might happen to you every day for a whole week. And perhaps you even start noticing the number 11 everywhere else, like on the temperature, or maybe you hear the number 11 on the TV a lot, or maybe on the radio or in a book, or you might see it on a receipt when you've bought something from the shop. You might buy something for £11.11. These things do happen. It's really, really unbelievable having these types of experiences. You could even see it on a car license plate. Like maybe you start seeing it on cars, or it could just appear all the time in your life in so many different places. Now, a lot of people might question what you can actually do with this information, like when you keep seeing these numbers. And I believe there is a couple of ways you can look at this. Firstly, I see it as a way of the universe trying to communicate something to you. If you acknowledge what you're doing or working on at that time, you can actually give it some kind of association. So if you have a good feeling when you see this number, like if it excites you when you see it, then it could indicate that you're on the right track, doing the right thing, and you're essentially in perfect alignment with your life mission. And really, I believe that we can give these synchronicities our own meaning. They will come into our lives with more of that association if we give it that meaning. And don't get me wrong, I used to see these numbers all the time. Like for at least 4 or 5 years now, I've seen numbers appearing, and I would always notice it and acknowledge it, but I would never really understand it. I would just kind of see it and go, oh, it's 11:11 or 10:10, and then that's it. I wouldn't do anything else with the information. And actually, it's only recently that I've started paying more attention to it, because I was thinking more to myself, like, I wonder what this actually means. Like, it can't be just a coincidence that these numbers are popping up all the time and so frequently, and I'm seeing them all the time. Like, how does that work? And there is a lot of studies on it online about, how angel numbers work. And if you look into spirituality about the significance of angel numbers, it does make a lot of sense. So I'll just give you another example for me. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of the number 16. I truly see this number as being something of complete alignment with what I'm doing. I'm where I need to be right now. And it truly is just such an unusual amount of times that it's popped up in my life lately. And it's probably going to sound so unbelievable. Some of you might be able to relate to this, but I will share with you anyway. Not only have I been looking at the clock and seeing 1616 quite frequently, but just recently I went to a cafe and I got seated at table 16. I also recently booked a hotel in another town, and when I got there, they put me in room 16. And funnily enough, the day that I travelled down to that hotel was on the 16th of December. So all of these 16s kept happening all the time, and I was really aware of it. I wasn't looking for it or anything. It just appeared in front of me, like wherever I went, like in the cafe. Oh, you're on table number 16. Don't forget your table number, because, when you buy something, you have to tell them your table number. And when you check into a hotel, oh, you're in room 16. It was just like I was really being guided to that number. It continued to happen more and more with lots of different things. The number 16 just kept coming up in so many different ways. And to be honest, it is still appearing all the time now. And the funny thing is that I'm never really looking for the number. It feels more like it is looking for me. That's really how it feels. Like just recently, I was reading something to do with the work that I'm creating at the moment, and it said that there was going to be updates coming on the 16th of January, which is actually today, the day I'm posting this podcast, which is also really funny because I'm talking about this on the 16th, which is the day that I'm releasing this. So yeah, there's just so many really funny things. And actually the reason I'm posting this today is because recently I've made the decision to post on Mondays and Thursdays, not just on Spotify, but on all my platforms, like on Instagram with my photography work or on YouTube when I make my videos. I've decided that Mondays and Thursdays are going to be the days that I try to post because it just has a good balance for me in the week. So it just happens to be that today is a Thursday and it's the 16th and I'm sharing this with you. So again, another crazy synchronicity. So as I said earlier, I see this number as giving me guidance that I am in complete alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've actually been working on new projects, new ideas, taking new approaches to the goals that I have in my life. And while I've been doing this, I've been constantly seeing this number all the time. So that's why that I'm feeling like I am in alignment with what I am supposed to be doing. These changes I'm making are significant because when I see this number, I have this little thing in my head that tells me, yes, like, okay, you're still on track, you're doing the right thing. And it's good because now when I see it, it's like an extra boost of motivation. So even if you don't believe in the synchronicities, if you do see these numbers all the time or you have an association of some kind with it, you can put that purpose to it and you can help it to give you some kind of motivation or boost or confirmation of something. It is really powerful and it works. But aside from that, synchronicity can come in many other forms as well. They could come in the form of something physical like a feather or a crystal, or maybe it's a quote that you see, or maybe actually a very common one that people have association with is rainbows. And for me, I do actually have an association with rainbows, but it only started since the 26th of December 2023, which was a very significant day. And why is that? That's because the 26th of December 2023 was the day that I created this podcast. So I was at the beach making my cover photo for this podcast, taking a photo of myself with my camera, and it was at sunrise, early morning, really cold. And as you can see by the cover photo that's on this podcast episode, I'm looking out into the distance, and actually I was looking out to the sea, so the sea was in front of where I was looking. And across the sea was a rainbow in the very, very distance, as far as the eye could see into the horizon. And I did catch a photo of it as well, so I have proof of a rainbow from that day on my phone. And after that day, I kept seeing rainbows on very significant days throughout the rest of the year and into 2024. Because on the day I was making my podcast, I saw that as a sign that I'm going in the right direction. And from then on out, every time I saw a rainbow, I was telling myself that I'm on a journey. And of course, the name of this podcast is the Path to Purpose. So I felt like that was a sign that I was on my path to purpose and I was doing all the right things. And it was just so funny because I'd never really seen rainbows that often before, but then I started seeing them all the time. Even recently this year, I saw like 3 in one day in different parts of a train journey, all different distances away, so they were all different rainbows. But they just kept appearing in my life, and it was just so reassuring for the things that I was doing at the time. It keeps me in alignment, and it does feel like I'm on the right path. So if you are a believer in that, or you feel like you have a strong connection to synchronicities, this is also something that can really help you in your journey. So pay attention to what's around you. If you start noticing numbers or patterns and something resonates with you, there's probably a reason that it does resonate with you. There's probably a reason why you feel connected to it, whether it's a number, it could be an object, it could be a color of an object, it could be a quote, it could be anything. But if you have that connection, try not to ignore it, try to embrace it and not fear or have any sort of skeptical thoughts about it. Just try and go with it and see what happens. There's nothing wrong with, testing the waters and seeing how it feels. So the reason I wanted to share this story with you all is because I believe synchronicities are often overlooked. They can often be perceived as just being coincidences, and don't get me wrong, I used to see them this way all the time. It was only in the last couple of years that I really started to see them to be more than just a coincidence, because they always came along at the exact right time, and I feel like there's a message attached to them. And my message to you is just to think about what it could possibly mean for you. And it doesn't matter how subtle or detailed it is. It could be something trying to tell you that you are out of alignment, or maybe it's telling you that you need to shift in some kind of area, or it could be something telling you that you're in the right direction. And the way you can do this is actually you can meditate on it, or you can really ask yourself questions about what you're doing in that current moment. So if in that current moment you are doing something related to work, or maybe you're having an argument in the relationship, and maybe it's trying to tell you something within the relationship, like whatever's going on in your life at that moment, it could have some kind of significance to that point in time. Even if it doesn't, it's still good to process things every now and then about where you are right now. So look at it as a way of checking in with yourself and to help you further progress on your journey and get past any blocks. Honestly, I never really thought I would be sharing anything about this kind of topic either, but it really has resonated with me. And the amount of times that things have happened to me with this, I felt the need to share it with you all, to make you all aware and to be able to see the magic that is all around us all the time. I've also just thought of another time that I had a synchronicity as well, so I'm going to share that with you while I've got it in my mind. For a while, I kept hearing about 2 places in the world all the time. The first one was Lisbon in Portugal, and the second one was Antarctica. And I kept seeing it everywhere for a period of time. It was like Lisbon on my phone. It was like I heard stories from my friends saying about how amazing it was to visit there. And I saw like other photographers that were visiting Lisbon. And it was going on for like a few months into a year. I even saw celebrities that were going there, just casually going there for like holidays. And the name kept popping up. And it was just everywhere I looked, I kept seeing and hearing about Lisbon. In fact, I'm still feeling the calling to go there actually. Something's actually making me feel like I need to book a flight there as one of my next trips for 2025. So my plan is to eventually make a trip there. But then also, Antarctica is actually a place that I've been very interested in visiting someday. But I all of a sudden kept seeing things about it online, on social media, on articles. There was like documentaries about it on the TV, and eventually I even saw a book in a shop in a shopping centre I was in. There was a book called Antarctica, and it was at that moment when I walked past the shop. It was on the front desk of the shop, so I could see it from outside of the entrance, and I just felt like I needed to go in there and buy that book, or at least have a look at it. And when I went into the shop, I had no idea what the context of the book was about, but I can tell you now that the book wasn't actually about Antarctica at all. I did read it, and it wasn't at all about Antarctica. It was actually an Irish literature book by Claire Keegan. So it has lots of interesting short stories throughout, and I believe it's won quite a few awards as well. But I still felt called to go over and pick this book up. But it's funny, when I went to pick it up, someone actually randomly came over, and at first I thought it was someone that worked in the shop, but it wasn't. It was just another person that was browsing the books, and they said to me that they really recommended the book and that I should buy it. It was just so random because I was just standing there looking at the book and this person recommended me to buy it. So of course I took that as my sign straight away. I was already looking at the book thinking, how funny is it that I've seen a book called Antarctica when I've been thinking and talking about it for the last few weeks, and then someone's given me the reassurance to buy it without even knowing anything about me on my journey. And it was just a sign. It was a clear and evident sign that I should. When I started reading the book, I told myself that I would look at any places that were mentioned within the book, or any significant words that were mentioned. So when I was reading it, I was having an open mind, and you're not going to believe it, but one of the first places that it actually mentioned in the book was Lisbon, which was absolutely mind-blowing. I could not believe it because, of course, Lisbon was the other place that I kept hearing about all the time. So not only had I had this calling for Antarctica and ended up buying a book on Antarctica, but also previous to that, I had the calling for Lisbon. And then I buy this book on Antarctica and it mentions Lisbon in the book. So I don't understand what that was or what it is, but I know that both of these places, for me, are having some kind of significance. And as someone who loves to travel, I'm going to go there and see if anything resonates and just experience it, because why not? So if that's not a sign, I really don't know what is. So as I've been seeing more and more synchronicities through life, it's really made my perception of things a lot more magical, I guess. So I have a lot more stories like this as well that I would happily share with you all at some point. But for now, I think this is enough. It's quite a lot to digest, especially if you're not necessarily a believer in synchronicities, but nonetheless, it makes for an interesting story. So I hope this episode gives you something to think about and that you can take something away from it that can assist you in noticing more synchronicities and helping you to keep up your goals and unblock anything that might be getting in the way of your journey. But as always, I hope this helps you on your journey, or should I say your path to purpose. And thank you for listening, and I will catch you all in the next episode.